Imagine having millions of dollars in the bank, right? A totally pristine public image, and just the adoration of fans all over the world.
Oh, absolutely everything you could want.
Exactly. You have absolutely everything. Now imagine risking every single bit of it on a lie that you didn't even need to tell.
Yeah, it's wild to think about.
It really is. Like, why you the most successful people on earth seemingly just self-destruct?
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are super thrilled to have you with us.
Glad you're here.
So today we're pulling our material from WatchMojo's deep dive lists detailing the most notorious times celebrities were caught lying. And the sources we are looking at today, they cover a massive spectrum from minor, almost comical pop culture fibs all the way to just massive career-destroying fabrications.
Right. And our mission today is to go far beyond just, the gossip. For someone like you who loves spotting patterns and really understanding the human condition, the real gold here is decoding the psychology of public deception.
We really want to examine the underlying mechanisms, like what is actually happening in the human brain when the stakes are incredibly high and someone just chooses to fabricate reality.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand why these massive stars lie, we first have to look at what they're terrified of losing. And looking at the sources, the most common reason a celebrity lies is simply to protect a carefully curated, highly profitable persona.
Right, defensive lying.
Yeah, exactly. Defensive lying.
It is the psychological weight of the halo effect. Yeah. Like in the early 2000s, there was this intense corporate pressure on pop stars to maintain an aggressively innocent brand.
Oh, for sure.
They were selling this squeaky clean, aspirational image to a very specific, younger demographic. And the industry logic was that any deviation from that innocence would just shatter the halo.
And that would lead to a massive loss in record sales and endorsements, right?
Exactly.
Well, that pressure perfectly explains the Brandy situation. In 2002, the singer was 23 years old, and she went on the Oprah Winfrey Show with two huge announcements.
Right, I remember this.
Yeah, she was expecting her first child with music producer Robert Smith, and she revealed that she and Smith had actually gotten married in a secret ceremony months earlier.
See, the human brain really craves a neat, coherent narrative, and that story provided one. But when their relationship ended, Robert Smith publicly admitted they had never been married.
Wow.
Yeah. So Brandy eventually had to sit down with Oprah again and confirm the marriage story was a complete fabrication. She admitted they made it up to protect her innocent image because she was terrified of how the public would react to her having a child out of wedlock.
That is just so heavy.
It really is. The pressure to maintain that corporate mandated halo forced her into a corner where a massive lie just felt like the safest PR strategy.
I mean, we saw the exact same psychological trap with Britney Spears during her relationship with Justin Timberlake back in the early 2000s.
Oh, absolutely.
Britney was actively trying to stick to her Southern morals, and present an image where she was saving herself for marriage. She publicly claimed to be a virgin.
Yep.
But after the couple split, Timberlake indirectly outed their intimate relationship during an interview with Barbara Walters in 2002.
Yeah, that was a huge deal.
It was. And then a year later, Britney was confronted about it in a magazine interview and had to admit they had slept together.
She basically became a victim of curating an identity that she had naturally outgrown. It's a defensive lie to protect the innocence of the brand. But, the sources show a fascinating pivot here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have the total opposite end of the spectrum, too. Artists who lie not to look innocent, but to build street cred or, artistic legitimacy, the authentic brand.
Oh, the White Stripes are the ultimate case study for this. When Jack and Meg White started gaining traction in the Detroit indie rock scene, they presented themselves to the world as a brother-sister duo.
Right.
And they kept this sibling image going, even as they skyrocketed to international fame. Until a local Detroit paper did some digging in 2002 and found their marriage certificate.
Which is just crazy.
Jack and Meg White were actually married in 1996, right before they formed the band, and they divorced in 2000, right as they were getting famous.
What is wild about that is even after the paper published the marriage certificate, they kept up the sibling lie for years.
Wait, really? For years?
Yes. It wasn't until 2005 that Jack finally publicly admitted the deception. He said they propagated the lie because they wanted to be taken more seriously as musicians.
Interesting.
Yeah, they thought a brother-sister dynamic was more enigmatic than a divorced couple. So the lie wasn't about hiding a scandal, it was about curating a vibe of eccentric artistry.
Wait, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
If your whole career is selling a specific vibe or a fantasy to the public, isn't lying about your backstory just aggressive resume padding?
Aggressive resume padding, I like that.
Like, if you're an actor or an entertainer, your job is literally to play pretend. Where is the line between marketing yourself and just outright lying to your audience?
That is a brilliant analogy. Taking it as aggressive resume padding explains the underlying mechanism perfectly. We alter the resume to fit the archetype the public already trusts, you know?
Right.
Let's look at Rebel Wilson. In 2015, an Australian magazine accused her of fabricating several aspects of her personal history. She was claiming to be 29 years old, using Rebel as her birth name, and leaning into this gritty story of having a rough upbringing in the ghetto of Sydney.
But the paper trail completely dismantled that resume. Official records and a former classmate proved she was actually 36 at the time.
Yeah.
Her birth name was Melanie Elizabeth Bounds. And she came from a very normal upper-middle-class background.
She padded her resume with a grittier, younger backstory because Hollywood comedies heavily reward that specific edgy archetype.
Makes total sense.
Star Jones did something similar, but with her physical transformation. On the daytime talk show The View in 2003, she started losing weight incredibly fast.
I remember that.
She credited this dramatic change to a strict diet and exercise regimen, vaguely mentioning a medical intervention. She wanted the resume of someone who achieved success through sheer willpower.
Which is a highly marketable narrative on daytime television.
Exactly. But the rumors wouldn't stop, and in 2007, she finally admitted she had undergone gastric bypass surgery.
So those are the image protectors, the defensive liars padding their resumes. But the conversation shifts completely when we look at the next category in our sources.
It really does. If we connect this to the bigger picture, while that first group lied defensively, this next group lied offensively.
Offensively?
Yeah, they lied to inflate their egos. This is driven by the psychology of narcissistic supply, which is basically the constant need for external validation.
I understand lying to protect a multi-million-dollar brand, but some of these offensive lies are just baffling.
Oh, they really are.
Take the Bow Wow incident from 2017. He posts this glamorous picture of a private jet on his Instagram, telling his followers he's flying to New York.
Oh, this one is so good.
Shortly after, a fan spots him sitting in economy class on a regular commercial flight. And then someone did a reverse image search on his Instagram post and found out it was literally a stock photo from a private transport service's website.
The internet is undefeated.
Right. It sparked the entire Bow Wow challenge on social media. But why on earth would he post a fake private jet photo when he knows people have cameras on commercial flights? What is the psychology there?
Well, it comes down to how the brain processes dopamine and social media validation.
Right.
The immediate, intoxicating dopamine hit of thousands of likes and comments praising his wealth completely overrides his logical risk assessment.
Wow.
The ego's demand for status blinded him to the obvious reality that he was sitting in a public space surrounded by smartphones. We see a similar cognitive dissonance with rapper Rick Ross.
Oh, right.
In 2008, a photo leak showing him dressed as a Florida correctional officer. For a rapper whose entire persona is built on a tough, anti-establishment image, this clashed violently with his ego.
And he fiercely denied it. He claimed his face was digitally manipulated onto someone else's body by online hackers.
Yes, the classic hacker excuse.
Right. And he challenged anyone to find solid proof, which prompted the investigative website The Smoking Gun to dig up his actual personnel record with the Department of Corrections.
They brought the receipts.
They sure did. They produced his social security number, copies of his birth certificate, and proof of his employment as a corrections officer from 95 to 97. The paper trail was irrefutable, and Ross finally confessed.
The ego demands you double down, even when the facts are cornering you. And this offensive, ego-driven lying, it bleeds into creative ownership and personal relationships, too.
How so?
Well, the brain has this desperate need to be the sole genius or the unambiguous good guy in a narrative.
That explains the Beyoncé story. In a 2008 interview with Marie Claire UK, she seemingly implied that she wrote the lyrics to her massive hit, Irreplaceable for Her Ladies. But Neo stepped in and publicly clarified that he wrote the lyrics for himself, and that Beyoncé actually only rewrote the harmony and melody lines.
Which is still a big deal.
Oh, for sure. She absolutely deserved her songwriting credit for the musical arrangement, but her ego allowed the implication that she penned those iconic lyrics to persist.
We also see the ego demanding the role of the victim, like with Taylor Swift and Kanye West.
Oh boy.
Yeah, in Kanye's 2016 song Famous, he included highly controversial lyrics about Taylor. Her spokespeople fiercely denied she ever gave approval, and Taylor threw shade at Kanye at the Grammys over it.
It was a massive moment of claiming victimhood.
Until Kim Kardashian leaked the video of Kanye and Taylor on a phone call. The footage showed Taylor appearing totally fine with the lyric, making her public outrage look unwarranted.
Or Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, fiercely denying having an affair during Pitt's divorce from Jennifer Aniston. Jolie even cited her father's infidelity as the reason she would never do such a thing.
Right, strong denial.
Yet, in 2008, both of them separately referred to the 2005 set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith as the place they fell in love. It was an attempt to protect their egos from being labeled the villains in a highly publicized divorce.
Exactly.
But ego-driven lies aren't always just petty flexes or Hollywood drama. Sometimes they cross a very serious ethical line into stolen valor.
Yes, and this is where we encounter the illusory truth effect. When someone tells a fabricated story enough times, the brain actually begins to overwrite its own memory and engrams.
Wait, so they start believing their own lie?
Yes, the liar begins to genuinely believe the lie. Consider journalist Brian Williams. In 2003, he was reporting from Iraq, traveling in a military helicopter. The chopper ahead of him was hit by RPG fire.
Right.
Over the years, as he retold the story on talk shows, his proximity to the danger shifted. He morphed from being a witness to claiming he was an actual victim in the helicopter that took fire.
And when he was caught, he called it a bungled attempt to thank a veteran, but it resulted in a 6-month suspension from NBC Nightly News.
Exactly.
We see this with conservative journalist Bill O'Reilly, too. He claimed in a 2013 book that he was standing outside the home of George de Morenchild, a man associated with Lee Harvey Oswald, and heard the shotgun blast when de Morenchild fatally shot himself.
Which was completely debunked.
Right. A 2015 Mother Jones article also disputed O'Reilly's claims about being on the Falkland Islands during the 1982 war, leading him to retract other assertions about witnessing extreme violence in El Salvador and Northern Ireland.
It is the inflation of the self by proximity to historical tragedy. And the absolute extreme of this is comedian Stephen Rannazzisi.
Oh, this one is dark.
It really is. He built a foundational narrative for his career around surviving the September 11th attacks. He claimed he was working as an account manager at Merrill Lynch in the South Tower and narrowly escaped just before the second plane hit.
He even said this traumatic experience motivated him to move to LA to pursue entertainment.
But a New York Times investigation revealed it was a complete fabrication. Not only did he never work for Merrill Lynch, but the company didn't even have offices in either tower at the time.
Co-opting a national tragedy for a personal backstory is just the darkest side of ego inflation.
Truly.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because ego-driven lies are embarrassing. But what happens when the lie is deployed to cover up a crime?
Oh, the stakes change.
The stakes instantly transition from public ridicule to actual prison time.
Yeah.
Why do people compound their legal problems by lying?
Psychologists call this the cover-up cascade, and it's driven by hyperbolic discounting.
Hyperbolic discounting.
Yeah, so when we are panicked, the brain prioritizes immediate short-term relief, like telling a lie to make the scary investigators go away over long-term strategic survival. Look at Lil' Kim.
Okay.
In 2005, she is testifying before a federal grand jury about a 2001 shootout outside the Hot 97 radio station in New York. Under oath, she denies that her co-manager, Damian Butler, and her bodyguard, Swift Jackson, were involved.
But security footage existed. The tape clearly showed that Lil' Kim, Butler, and Jackson were all there.
Right.
Her misrecollection, as her defense called it, earned her 366 days in prison, 30 days of house arrest, and 3 years of probation. The cover-up literally put her behind bars.
Because her panicked brain chose the immediate relief of protecting her friends over the long-term reality of perjury.
Wow.
We saw the exact same hyperbolic discounting with Olympic swimmer Ryan Lochte at the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio.
Oh, the gas station incident.
Yes. Lochte caused an international incident by claiming he and his teammates were pulled over and robbed at gunpoint by individuals impersonating Brazilian police.
But the investigation revealed Lochte and 3 other swimmers had actually vandalized a gas station bathroom and were forced by armed security to pay for the damages. He completely fabricated the robbery to cover up his own vandalism. He was charged with falsely reporting a crime, lost multiple endorsements, and was hit with a 10-month suspension. His panicked brain thought a fake robbery story would immediately solve the embarrassment of vandalizing a bathroom.
It is the ultimate panic move. And perhaps the most confounding example is Jussie Smollett in 2019.
Oh, man.
He claimed to be the victim of a horrific hate crime in Chicago, alleging 2 people hurled homophobic and racial slurs, poured a chemical substance on him, and put a noose around his neck.
But the Chicago Police Department found massive inconsistencies and revealed the entire attack was staged.
Yeah.
Smollett was convicted of felony disorderly conduct for lying to the police, completely derailing his acting career.
Even when it doesn't involve complex staged crimes, simple public denials blow up because of physical evidence.
Like Paris Hilton. She went on Larry King Live after serving jail time and explicitly denied ever taking drugs, claiming she only took ADHD medication. But in 2010, she was arrested on suspicion of drug possession when police found 0.8 grams of cocaine in a handbag that also contained her credit cards, phone, and driver's license.
Or Kim Kardashian in 2007 publicly denying the existence of a sex tape with her ex Ray J to Complex magazine and her then boyfriend Nick Cannon.
Yeah.
When the tape eventually leaked, Kim settled for a $5 million payout with Vivid Entertainment amidst public speculation that she was actually involved in the leak herself.
That is just crazy.
What's fascinating here is what we call the hubris of the spotlight. It's like living in a Truman Show bubble.
A Truman Show bubble.
Yeah, when someone becomes wildly famous, they get incredibly accustomed to being the director of their own movie. They dictate what the public sees. Psychologically, they forget that gravity still applies when they step off the set.
That makes a lot of sense.
They forget that real-world elements like security cameras, police investigations, or physical evidence can pierce the bubble. They truly believe their narrative power can override empirical facts.
That Truman Show bubble perfectly sets up our final category. We've covered lies to protect the brand, lies to inflate the ego, and the panic of the cover-up cascade.
Right.
But the ultimate betrayal of trust, the absolute house of cards, is when the entire foundation of a celebrity's status is a lie.
This is where the deception isn't just a marketing tactic. The lie. the career. And the psychological weight of living as a total fraud is devastating. It's imposter syndrome, but entirely justified.
The ultimate pop culture hoax is Milli Vanilli in the late 80s. Fab Morvan and Rob Pilatus were absolute superstars. But in 1989, Charles Shaw came forward and revealed that Morvan and Pilatus were just lip-syncing. Shaw was actually one of 3 real vocalists who recorded the tracks.
And the fallout was massive.
They were forced to relinquish their Grammy Award, face consumer fraud lawsuits, and while Morvan recovered, Pilatus tragically struggled with substance use disorder until his death in 1998.
The human cost of a foundational lie is immense. We saw another bizarre foundational lie in 2012 with Manti Te'o.
Oh, the football player.
Yes. The star Notre Dame linebacker captured the nation's sympathy when he continued playing football, despite the apparent deaths of his grandmother and his girlfriend, a Stanford student named Lene Kekua, who supposedly died of leukemia.
But an investigation revealed Lene Kekua never existed. Te'o was the victim of a complex catfishing hoax.
Yes. But he became complicit in the lie because he had falsely claimed to the media that they had met in person.
Right. Why wouldn't he just admit he was fooled?
Because of the sunk cost fallacy. He had already absorbed so much public sympathy and built so much of his senior year narrative around this tragedy that his brain calculated it was less painful to maintain the fiction than to admit the embarrassing truth.
It's literally the sunk cost fallacy applied to human relationships and media narratives. That is fascinating.
Yeah.
But if we are talking about the most monumental fall from grace due to a foundational lie, we have to talk about Lance Armstrong.
Oh, the biggest one.
The cancer survivor and 7-time Tour de France champion maintained for years with aggressive, hostile denials that his legacy was completely drug-free.
This is the apex of pathological self-deception. When you aggressively defend a lie for a decade, suing people and destroying careers to protect it, you warp your own moral compass. The 2012 U.S. Anti-Doping Agency revelation proved it was a massive, highly coordinated doping ring.
The consequences were historic. He forfeited prizes dating back to 1998. He was stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles. The IOC took back his Olympic bronze medal. He was forced out of his own foundation.
Wow.
He even suffered the ultimate pop culture penalty. The episodes of the children's cartoon Arthur that he guest starred in were permanently banned. Everything he built was erased.
Tiger Woods experienced a similar collapse of a foundational narrative. In 2009, after a car crash outside his Florida home, a string of extramarital affairs was unveiled.
Right, and he had that wholesome image.
Exactly. Woods had meticulously crafted this pristine family man image. It was a core part of his marketability. The infidelity shattered that completely.
Yeah, people were so angry.
And the reason the public reacts with such venom to figures like Armstrong and Woods comes down to emotional betrayal. The public can forgive a mistake. What they cannot forgive is realizing their deep emotional investment was based on a complete fiction.
So what does this all mean? We've looked at a massive spectrum of deception today, from the dopamine-driven flex of Bow Wow posting a fake private jet to the panic-induced cover-up cascade of Ryan Lochte, all the way to Lance Armstrong's pathological decade of deceit.
If we bring this lesson directly back to you, the listener, there's a very real everyday application here. We live in an era where everyone is essentially a mini celebrity within their own network, you know?
That's for sure.
We curate our lives in social media, we polish our professional personas on LinkedIn, we project an image. These celebrity case studies serve as a massive, very public warning.
Yep.
They show us the psychological mechanics of what happens when our personal PR completely outpaces our reality. The higher the pedestal you build with deception, the more devastating the eventual fall.
It certainly makes you rethink every carefully crafted caption or slightly exaggerated story you tell at a dinner party. Which leads me to this final thought.
Okay.
If absolute, unfiltered truth is often the enemy of a compelling, marketable story, how much of our own daily interactions are just mini, socially acceptable versions of the White Stripes sibling lie?
Ooh, a fascinating question to leave it on. Thank you so much for joining us as we explored the intricate psychology of public deception.
Keep questioning the narrative, and we will see you on the next Deep Dive.